Recently, a jury in Los Angeles ruled that Meta and YouTube were liable in a social media addiction case, further fueling the conversation of our use and overuse of these platforms. Let's break it down. Click like and we'll scroll on. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and this is Later That Same Life. On each episode of my weekly podcast, a different topic, discussion, commentary, or story from our lives.
Season 20, Chapter 4, Social Media Addiction.
Facebook came online in 2004, YouTube 2005, Instagram 2010, TikTok 2016. Facebook bought Instagram in 2012. Google bought YouTube in 2006. Facebook's parent company is now known as Meta. Google, YouTube are products of a company now called Alphabet. We've now had social media and mass connectivity for over 20 years, and of course an entire generation who has never known anything but. Between 2012 and 2015, as smartphones became ubiquitous, conversations began about social media addiction. I'll get to some of the more high-profile efforts to battle this addiction in a moment. But it's interesting to me that people sue the sites, governments try and regulate against them, but no one is pointing an accusing finger at the smartphone makers. Should they not be just as culpable? I mean, we try and get drugs off the street, but we usually also actively pursue the people who provide them. If social sites are the drug, aren't smartphones the pushers standing on the sidewalk just outside the schoolyard fence? Drugs are bad, but what about that person putting it in our hands, making them instantly available at a touch? In this latest case involving social media giants and the issue of addiction, a jury in LA ruled that Meta and YouTube must pay a 20-year-old woman $3 million in damages, agreeing with her contention that she became addicted to social media as a child, and this exacerbated her mental health issues. The jurors recommended an additional $3 million in damages after finding that these companies acted with malice, oppression, or fraud in harming children through their platforms, saying that they were intentionally designed to be addictive. The plaintiff, identified only by her initials KGM, testified in this first-of-a-kind case, as did panels of experts from both sides. First of its kind here because this is one person suing large social media conglomerates on her own. This is not a class action lawsuit. This is not local officials trying to bring regulatory changes. No, it's just one person. And she won. Though, of course, lawyers for Meta and YouTube say they will appeal. It's not the $6 million. Zuckerberg spends that on lunch. It's the precedent they're afraid of. YouTube also argued that they shouldn't even be part of this case, that they are not a social media site, but more like a streaming service. Interesting argument. Not totally accurate, but interesting.
Matthew Bergman is one of the plaintiff's lawyers.
What was most compelling was the jury not only found that Meta and YouTube were negligent, but found that they acted with malice in putting their profits over the safety of our kids. These companies had been able to avoid and evade accountability for decades, and, the chickens have come home to roost.
Just a day before the LA decision, a New Mexico jury ruled that Meta knowingly harmed children's mental health and concealed what they knew about child exploitation on its social media platforms. Unlike the private case in California, this was a state prosecution. They ordered Meta to pay $375 million in penalties, not to one person or one group. These are fines. That's nothing to do with the addiction issue of social. But it does speak to the consistent defense presented by these companies. Basically, they're saying that any harm that may come to those who use our product is not the fault of the product, but of the people who use it. Can you hold gun manufacturers accountable for shootings? Car makers for accidents? Well, sometimes yes. But blaming the user, that is skating on thin ice. In general society, we have terms for that viewpoint. It's called victim blaming or gaslighting. I get it. All commerce is based on getting customers and making them repeat customers. Hope you like that Mazda enough to buy another one day. Hope you like your haircut. Come back and see us again. Enjoyed our hamburgers? Well, y'all come back real soon now. That's fine. That's business. But you buy a car every few years. You get a haircut maybe once a month. You go to McDonald's a couple times a week maybe. Companies have rewards programs, frequent customer points, and so on. Come back, stay with us, use us again and again. But social media is invasive. It's designed to be part of your every second of every day. Their business model is not only based on frequency, but the actual experience you have is based on time spent, number of likes, number of followers, friends. All of this is only attainable by more time spent on the site. For many, this translates into too much time spent, wasted, on social. And for far too many more, this translates into addiction. Outside of, say, a big pharma, no other commodity has addiction built into their product. Repeat customers are one thing, this is another. If you research Facebook revenue, they will say that 98% of it comes from advertising, and though that may be technically true, the money actually comes from data. Data, that's you and me providing it to them at no cost by simply using Facebook, Instagram, etc. Data is what gives Meta the ability to highly target specific groups and individuals with specific messages. I've gone through this before in previous podcasts, but you go back in the day to traditional TV and radio advertising, it was like throwing a big bucket of water over a crowd and hoping someone gets wet. Then came market research, surveys and the like, gathering data, granted in an old-fashioned, clumsy way. Hey, the people of this age bracket seem to prefer this. People in this zip postal code buy more of these. This income bracket tends to shop for this. Hey, and these people listen to radio in the morning and they watch TV at night. Target audiences. It was still throwing a bucket of water, but this time smaller crowd. Ergo, more people getting wet. Facebook, social in general, is the holy grail of advertising. With their data, they can tell what you want, when you want it, what you're willing to pay for it, and can even calculate the proximity of the product to where you are right now. They may even offer you 10% off. Even if you're a slightly different person with a slightly different set of data, well, you'll get a different message. Not everyone sees the same ad. It's so specific. That's why when two different people in two different cities Google the very same thing, they can get different results. And again, it's all based on you and me using this platform, i.e., offering up our most current data again and again and again. Our gratification for this is also built into their system. Hey, I got more likes. I'm getting more friends, more followers, more reposts. So eventually, and again, not for all, but for far too many, the way the body might physically crave a drug, the mind craves this reward system.
When we engage with social media, it releases a lot of dopamine in the brain's reward pathway, lights up the same part of the brain as drugs and alcohol. It's incredibly accessible. We have 24/7 access to this particular drug. It's bountiful in the sense that it's practically speaking infinite. And number 4, it's incredibly novel. The AI algorithms learn what we've liked before and actually push to us the suggestion that we want to keep going or check out the next new thing.
Addiction is considered a chronic medical disease. It can manifest itself in substance abuse or compulsive behavior, despite obvious harmful consequences. As a result, there's impaired control, cravings, and dependence. Addiction is based on life experiences, genetics, and environment. The battle against social media addiction is an attempt to alter life experiences and exercise control over the environment. Environment is important. You know, they don't hold AA meetings in pubs. It's an environment they have created. And if they won't change it, even admit to it, then governments will try and regulate it. And failing that, people will sue. More than a dozen Ontario school boards and private schools are suing Meta, Snapchat, and TikTok for over $8 billion, alleging that their platforms are designed for compulsive use, that they change student mental health, and disrupt learning. The lawsuit, initiated in March of 2024, also alleges that these platforms have increased aggression, cyberbullying, and learning challenges. The greatest concern when it comes to overuse and addiction is our kids. Australia became the first government to issue age restrictions on social media platforms. Aussie children 16 and under are banned from Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, et al. Following their lead, similar restrictions were signed into law in France, Norway, Spain, Malaysia, and the state of Florida. The U.S. federal government has summoned Meta and others to various committees, congressional hearings, one of them being after a former Facebook employee and whistleblower, Frances Haugen, came forth with allegations. Now, these had more to do with antitrust laws. The EU has fined Meta billions and billions over antitrust and data privacy violations. Again, not directly related to the addictive nature of these sites. It just seems that there's a lot of flaws here. They're on defense a lot. And when it comes to Meta, it points to one man being in charge. Mark Zuckerberg is the one in control. The one. So if you're wondering, by the way, why suddenly people like Zuckerberg, Cook, Bezos are in tight with Trump, that's why. That's really what they're afraid of, is losing control of their billions. And with this amount of money involved, the addiction issues of a few may not be a priority. These guys are like Escobar. They know people get addicted. They're counting on it. Social media addiction, at least to me, falls into the category of failure of imagination. In other words, we didn't see it coming. We didn't realize there might be a problem until there was one. Now we're scrambling to figure out what to do. A ban never seems like it's a good solution for anything, especially when you're trying to ban something that everybody already has had and still wants. Prohibition didn't work for booze in the 1920s. Why would a social media ban work in the 2020s? Banning might have been a good idea when something was just first invented. Ooh, this might be trouble. We should ban it. We shouldn't allow it. But humans don't really do that, do we? First, we invent something, we get it out there, we use it, and then when we realize the harm, we impose bans. Nuclear weapons, cigarettes, booze, Facebook. Too late now. The proverbial cat is out of the bag. We're trying to close the barn door after the horse is bolted. So there's a horse and a cat out there, and we're standing in an empty barn holding an empty bag, trying to pass some laws. And in the corner over there, that's Pandora's box, and only hope is locked inside. And banning social media for those under 16, that age is one of the most rebellious and inventive stages of our lives. If 50 years ago a 14-year-old could figure out how to get a case of beer to a bush party, then a modern 14-year-old will easily figure out how to get on WhatsApp. Banning cell phones in classrooms is actually a better idea. As I said earlier, phones are just as much the culprit as the platforms are. Phones are the delivery system. And even at that, instead of banning phones and social media for kids, how about teaching them as subjects in school? Does that sound so crazy? As I've said many times, the easy answer is no. Yes, takes longer. It's also more work. Oh, who needs more work? Just ban it. Okay, we banned it. We've done our job for society. No, you haven't. How many times have you ever seen a parent trying to appease a toddler, by handing them a screen? Hey, I get it. It's not easy being a parent when your kid is screaming and everyone on the bus or the waiting room or the mall wants your kid to shut up. But kids are taught early. The screen. The answer to all that is good is on this portable screen. I always loved the story that my daughter told me years ago. She was having a friend over for coffee one weekend, and there was no babysitter around, so her friend brought her 3-year-old. So they throw in some SpongeBob DVD or something on the giant TV in the living room. This will amuse the youngster while the grown-ups visit. After 10 minutes, the 3-year-old was standing there in front of the screen, swiping his hand over it left and right. He was swiping for the next thing. Age 3. And that was a long time ago. That kid today is probably 18, still swiping up a storm, I bet. So here we are, this most wonderful thing we thought we had, social media. And you know me, I've never cared for the term. I grew up working in media. It's all social. Media is almost like a synonym for social. Yet we've divided it up. This half is traditional media, this half is social media. Well, the name here is not really a battle I'm fighting. Certainly never hope to win. So yeah, social media, wonderful thing, which it can be. But we're shocked that somehow too much of a good thing is bad for us. Man, even our grandparents told us that, too much of a good thing, and we didn't learn. Signs of social media addiction, the symptoms. Well, excessive use, losing track of time, human relations are impacted, schoolwork or employment suffers, we are less social and more irritable.
And then I would take a day. I would schedule like a day a week where I would go cold turkey, where I would not have it with me at all.
Experts don't generally have a very good list of cures. They're all the same. Reduce your screen time. Perhaps first, maybe go on a complete social media detox. Form a new plan. Reduce your contact list. That's like telling an alcoholic, stop drinking, don't go to bars, don't hang around with other drunks. The drunk is like, yeah, thanks, man, but I'm an addict. I need a little more help than that. It's tough because this social media problem, to me, is more like a food addiction. And here's what I mean by that. If you're addicted to booze, smokes, drugs, well, you can just quit altogether. I'm not saying that's easy, but that's an option. You just quit. You stay away from temptation. But if you're addicted to food, what do? Because at least once or twice a day, you gotta eat. Yeah, there's diets, calories, exercise, portion control. That's great. But that thing you're addicted to, you can't just stay away from it. It is set in front of you at least twice a day. 3 times is often recommended. That's what social media and smartphone addiction is like. Society is increasingly built so that these things are necessities, like eating. You can't cut them out entirely and forever. You'll be left behind. You'll be unemployable. Social media addiction, like food, it's a tough one to beat. Keeps getting served up in front of you. And say you do stay away altogether. Well, you know who some of the biggest promoters of social media are? Traditional media. They're reminding you of it. They're promoting it. They always say, hey, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Instagram, check out my YouTube channel, listen again on our app. Hey, please, I'm trying to quit. I was thinking maybe the magic pill is the only answer. You know those GLP-1s like Wegovy or Ozempic? One of the ways you lose weight is that the meds cut the cravings. They slow the gastric process. They make you feel full longer. They trick the brain. There's a pill being advertised right now to help you control or stop altogether alcohol consumption. Several brands, actually. They interrupt or block receptors that provide that euphoria connected to having a drink. They trick the brain. Maybe that's the real answer to social media addiction. The only real solution. Brain science, chemicals, meds, trick the brain. Big companies have big monies involved in social media addiction. They need your addiction to live. But invent a magic pill that will counter that? Well, that's got to be big monies for big pharma. And that would be an interesting battle for mind control supremacy. Big pharma versus big social. Be like when Godzilla fights Mothra. Epic battle. One dies and the other one gets sealed into the ocean. Well, would that be so bad? And hey, I don't want to be accused of failure of imagination. So let's say we end up with a pill or pills that ensure we don't enjoy too much of anything. Food, booze, sex, TikTok. We block all of those receptors and we just walk around Earth as mildly satisfied, relatively slim, pleasant people, while AI bots take over. 'Cause that could happen.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. Larry Fedoruk 37 at gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.